It's time for Ask the Expert, your chance to learn something new every day. Let's find out who our expert is today.
Sean Baker is co-owner and CEO at the New Beginnings Center for Somatic Mental Health here in Camarillo. Sean uses body-mind approaches to resolve clients' distress related to trauma, gender dysphoria, and medical conditions. Sean advocates for transgender healthcare, providing staff sensitivity trainings and presenting at national conferences on gender diversity issues in mental health care. Thanks for coming on the show, Ask the Expert, Sean.
Thank you, Barry. It's a pleasure to be here and support Camarillo Radio.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you come from? How did you find yourself here in Camarillo?
I'm a native of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and my family has been in business for lots of generations. So that seemed like the trajectory I was on, but I'd always wanted to be of support to people's highest potential, and that kind of drove my heart. So after getting kind of burnt out in the corporate business world, I found myself getting a master's degree in clinical psychology and thought I would still kind of apply that in the corporate world, and that became challenging. At some point, I had moved out here to California, done my undergrad degree at USC and then my master's at Pepperdine, and eventually was looking for the ability to buy a house, become a first-time homeowner, which is how I ended up out here in Ventura County. And then took some time getting acclimated with all the players here. I worked at Interface Children and Family Services when I first arrived, and still am connected with some of the folks there. They really have been just a supportive group in this community, and through that found New Beginnings here in town, which has been around since 1982, and then met my now wife, Susan Richter. We, in a sense, took over the running of the center in 2014 and sort of pursued my dream, which was to create a whole body, whole person healing center. And we call that somatic work, so of the body, mind, spirit. And we've created that center starting probably back then around Susan's experience in working with eating disorders, needing to bring in medical consultation for that work. And from there, having body workers and a dietitian and other folks who were just interested in healing trauma. And really the reality is by the time all of us become adults, we've experienced trauma. It's just a part of being a human being. Susan and I have just been keen on what's the next best way to do that for folks. How we know that the brain can heal itself. We know that the body can heal itself. How do we take that knowledge and wisdom and internal wisdom that we each have to apply it to our mental health and overall well-being?
And when did you start this journey? I mean, I'm sure you had a culture shock coming from where you came from here to Southern California.
Yes.
And so how did that go for you? What was your experience like moving across the country and deciding what you were going to become here in Southern California?
Well, I traveled here on a vacation in like 7th grade, and it was certainly during the winter, which made Southern California very appealing in February. So I put all my sights on how am I going to go to college out here. And being an only child, and my parents were also keen on better weather, and we had some relatives out here in Southern California. So it took a little bit of time, but that's how it all happened. And I think even besides the weather, really even more compelling was the diversity. I always had leaned into this sense of where I was growing up was pretty homogenous, and I didn't feel like I fit in necessarily. So coming out to Southern California, seeing the ethnic diversity, seeing cultural diversity, religious diversity, it just created a sense of freedom in me that, like I say, I kind of locked onto.
And you've been running this practice 10 years now, is that right?
Yes, as sort of the boss. Mm-hmm.
The boss. Okay, what does that entail? As a business person that you have come up from,
Right.
How do you relate business and therapy together? How do you balance the two?
It's a challenge because there's so much of doing the work of accompanying someone on their healing journey that is much more like being a shaman, being a Sherpa, being a trusted person in someone's life. It really can be a very emotionally, spiritually intimate experience.
And it takes a lot out of you as the therapist, I assume, being there for someone and being there for multiple people, having that responsibility.
There is some of that. I think that is part of the balance of noticing and staying grounded in my own boundaries around my time, certainly boundaries around my personhood, my physical body and others. And so not taking on someone else's journey, but coming alongside. Again, that's why I kind of think of the metaphor of the Sherpa who, does pack a lot of the equipment, kind of has some ideas of how the terrain is going to be, how the journey is going to be. But, that individual comes with their own abilities, their knowledge about themselves. And, once we get going, it's a ride that changes both of us. So I think it's really, to me, being open to being changed by my time and relationship with my clients as much as they may have come for change as well. And then there is the reality that doing this in a milieu that is still right now based in Western medicine, we are operating as a business. So that means all of the things that any independent owner of a shop in town is going to have to deal with. And I think that those aspects of the work are, they're less heart interesting. So I reach out for lots of support in the community. I've been a strong user of our small business development resources in the community. And I think that's really helped keep us going all these years.
We're speaking with Sean Baker, the CEO at the New Beginnings Center for Somatic Mental Health here in Camarillo, today on Ask the Expert. And if you have a question for the expert, you can call or text 833-346-4626. That's 833-346-4626. Let's talk about the type of people that need therapy. I don't want to use the word need, but the type of people that that would need the help.
Every listener,
everyone
is. Again, I really think of it as your well-being, and if you are taking account of your well-being, there is no separation between taking care of your physical well-being compared to your mental well-being, compared to your spiritual well-being, compared to your emotional well-being. You and I as well, may put more of our resources of time, money, energy towards that one of those subcategories than the other, one of those areas in our life. So everyone has the ability to benefit from the experience of the broad term of psychotherapy. I do think that I would encourage folks to really move towards seeking someone who comes from a more body-centered, has some kind of body work experience, if not using that in their work, just because traditional talk therapy is only going to be talking to the part of our brain that is very clever at making stories and protecting ourselves, kind of using all of those mechanisms to stay in our comfort zone. And growth happens kind of at the edge of our comfort zone. We certainly want to be feeling safe in a space with someone to do this work, but we also need to be open to allow ourselves to be changed by the experience.
So how does one start therapy? Do they just walk in your door and say, I need help? Or how does that work? For those of us that are maybe a little shy or maybe haven't even thought about therapy seriously, how do you even begin?
Sure, you certainly could walk through the door Monday through Friday during normal business hours, and Jennifer, our office manager, was generally here to greet you and get acquainted with you, take some information. If you, again, being that we've been so tied to Western medicine, if you are in a situation where you want to use insurance to help cover the cost of therapy, we'll check that information out for you. You can also go to our website, and we have a newsletter. We put out a monthly e-newsletter on events happening that we're a part of, on, again, cultivating your well-being. And in there, not only can you subscribe to the newsletter, but you can also email us some information about your contact information and what you're looking for. And you can also call the old-fashioned way on the telephone.
Right, and you can find all that information at thenewbeginningscenter.com. Sean Baker is with us, the CEO of the New Beginnings Center for Somatic Mental Health here in Camarillo. And you can call or text your questions right now if you'd like to, 833-346-4626, or stop on by the New Beginnings Center. They're nearby In and Out. How do you explain where you are here?
I do. I say we're at that T where In and Out crosses the freeway. We're on a little side street called Granada, and it's a beautiful little residential neighborhood. Sometimes we will take a walk with folks. There's a park down the street, and we're the only two-story office building on the street.
Now, a lot of people here have families, and a lot of teenagers are here in the county, and a lot of them may be having some issues growing up.
Yes.
Are you specialized in working with teenagers?
I am, and they are one of the most enjoyable groups of folks that I work with. I run a teen group every Thursday called DB Teen. We apply DBT principles to group therapy.
What's DBT?
DBT stands for Dialectical Behavior Therapy. It is kind of the next generation after the old cognitive behavioral therapy, which I think probably most of your listeners are familiar with. It adds in the emotional components that get in our way sometimes of making choices for ourselves that are kind of using our wise mind. And certainly with teenagers, when they're in that stage of hormones coming online and trying to navigate peer relationships, as well as stay the course with their academic responsibilities and their family responsibilities. All of that's really difficult to navigate. And in addition, the teenagers that, here we have now, all of us are working through and recognizing the impact that COVID has had for us. So I'd like to come back to that in a little bit, but just in terms of teenagers, these kids were in grade school when the lockdown happened, interrupting their natural social development. So looking for ways to increase social connection. How do they rely on each other? Because many, many more of them are opting for independent study as a way to navigate getting through high school. And I think that it's great that we have got a lot of variations in terms of educational paths that kids can take. And we really want to help them develop those social skills with each other and peer skills, and navigating relationships with parents as well.
It's a difficult road growing up, especially here in nowadays time, with everything turning upside down and backwards wherever you go. It's really hard to grow up.
And kids have so much more access to adult issues than they certainly did when I was a kid. So, for me, if I wasn't around when the news came on at X time, I kind of went about my neighborhood childhood. That's not the case for our young folks. So helping them navigate that sense of helplessness when they're inheriting a world that's right now looking more and more chaotic than it has been, and helping them not lose themselves in the flurry.
Can you talk about I know you're not allowed to talk about your patients. I think there's a rule there. But can you generally talk
I can.
about maybe an impactive story that has happened with one of your patients, a story of growth or a story of betterment?
I'm really blessed that there have been several former patients that I've come across at social gatherings, or I should say community gatherings, that flag me down and say, thank you so much. You really, I really hate to use the word saved my life, but that is the phrase that they will use. But I take that in as I was really integral to changing their life in a way that has helped them and helped their family. So oftentimes it's been a trans youth who wasn't able to come out to their parents, and as a result of that pressure, starts to feel anxious, depressed, starts to have thoughts of like, I can't deal with this pain, and that's what we call suicide ideation. I don't know how to deal with this pain anymore, and I just want to get out of it. So the ability for me to sit with them, to sit with their parents who I know, love them, if they've been able to come into my office and sit down with me and really walk through the parents' fears of what their youth is experiencing and equip parents who may not have any idea. It's certainly issues around sexuality and gender identity are not something that's, we're not necessarily of the same race or religion that we grow up in, right? So if there's a Latino family, the kid doesn't have to come out to their parents as Latino, right? The parents see that, understand that, know how to raise their child in that culture. But coming out as gay or queer or trans, certainly for some parents is a whole culture shock. And I really try to give parents a lot of support for that journey of, you've got a miraculous child that you've brought into this world. How do you support them? And they will shine in ways that you can't even imagine.
We're speaking with Sean Baker today, the co-owner and CEO of the New Beginning Center for Somatic Mental Health here in Camarillo. And you can learn more at thenewbeginningscenter.com. Let's talk about the future of the New Beginning Center here in Camarillo. Can you tell us what is on the horizon?
Well, I think a couple of things are cooking, you could say. One, we've been trying to figure out ways to serve the folks who really live in our community. And to that end, we've been successful with getting in network with Medi-Cal in Ventura County. That's called Gold Coast. Some folks might see on their insurance card it says Carillon. So all of that has been a tremendous, I think, benefit to folks who live here, and again, oftentimes have less financial resources to be able to benefit from coming to our center for services. I do see, again, this movement towards more holistic, body-centered healing. We're seeing the research come out on what's beneficial to folks that they've been using in the military, with using MDMA, with using psilocybin. So just as with any healing property, these plants have been on the earth for a very, very, very long time. We know thanks to the most recent indigenous folks, that they've been using these medicines to help us heal. And now we have, ironically, this clashing or coming together of super futuristic technology and really ancient wisdom of healing. And how that will find itself going forward is an exciting premise. I try to stay in that place of being excited about it, because I think that while AI is powerful and effective, how do we use things consciously and intentionally, right? With the fact that how many rainforests are going to be endangered because of all of the resources we're putting towards AI. So it's navigating that balance. And if you think about that globally, or you think about it in your own personhood, or you think about it in your own family, that's what we're trying to do here at the center, is sort of think globally and act locally.
Sean Baker, on that note, thanks for coming on Ask the Expert. I have one more question. How do you start the process of learning how to wakeboard?
Well, any kind of board sports will help. Or surf, any kind of boarding, or where you're oriented that way.
I know
like
that's what you do it for fun. There,
I do.
You're out there on the mountains and in the water,
and it helps when you learn when you're young. I mean, I think there is something extra challenging about allowing the boat to get you out of the water.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. I tried it. I could not get up.
Yeah.
That's the issue. I said, you have to stop. I cannot get up.
Right. Well, if you got a boat, I'm happy to go out there with you and give it a shot. I've taught several people in their adult
Oh my gosh! Now
how to do
that's a superhero trait there. If you can do therapy and wakeboarding class, that's great. Sean Baker, thanks for being on the Ask the Expert today.
Thanks, Barry. It's been a pleasure.